Hey, so it's Annie, and we're going to do Superstition by Stevie Wonder. I'm going to teach you the riff, which goes through the verse of the song and the introduction. And then the chords, which you can play if you're the rhythm guitarist, which are... And then there's a trumpet, but we're going to change it to a guitar, which can also go over the riff, which goes... And then the chorus chords, which are... And that is the whole song. That's all you need to know to be able to play along to the original track. So, starting with the riff, you'll want your guitar on the neck pickup. It sounds a lot better when you're playing a riff. So we're going to split the riff into two parts. The first part being, and the second part being. So the first part, you want your ring finger on the 6th fret of the A string. Pluck it once. On your first finger on the 4th fret. Back to the 6th fret. Then you want your first finger on the 4th fret of the D string. So then you'll move it up a string back to the 4th fret of the A string. You're then going to do a hammer on with your middle finger on the 6th fret of the low E string. Pluck back on the A string and hammer on the 6th fret of the A string. So I'll go through that again because it can be quite confusing. So you've got hammer, hammer. So that's the first part. And then for the second part, you're starting with your first finger on the 4th fret of the E string, and then your ring finger on the 6th fret, and then your first finger on the 4th fret of the A string, ring finger on the 4th fret. So you're starting, and then you're going back. It's kind of repeating the first section. Your first finger on the 4th fret of the D string, then to the string lower on the A string, and then you're doing the same hammer on. So the second time, first time, you're just copying the first time. So I'll go through that again. So the first time, second time, first time, second time. So that's the whole of the actual guitarist's riff. You've then got the chords on top of that for the verse. You want to push your pickup right to the top this time, just to give it a cleaner sound. Sounds nicer when you're playing the chords. So here you'll want an E flat minor chord. So you're barring with your first finger on the 6th fret and remembering to mute the low E string. So you're using an A minor shape of the cage chord system and just moving it up. So you've got your middle finger on the 7th fret of the B string, little finger on the 8th fret of the G string, and then your ring finger just above that on the 8th fret of the D string. So that's the E flat minor chord. So that's the first chord you're playing, and it's got quite a groovy strumming pattern, which I'll teach you in a minute. And then you're going to a 7th chord. You're doing a A flat minor 7. Major 7, sorry. Okay, so you've got the E flat minor, A flat major 7. So they are the two chords that go the whole way through the verse while the lead guitarist is playing the riff. You've then got a part which is which actually a trumpet's playing, but it sounds good with the guitar, so I'll teach you it transformed onto the guitar. So again, you'll want it on the neck pickup because you're playing a riff. So for this, it sounds like. Again, we're going to split it into two halves, the first half being. So I'll teach you that. You've got your ring finger on the 6th fret of the A string, first finger down to the 4th fret, and then you're hammering on back onto the 6th fret. Then you want your first finger on the 4th fret of the E string, and you're hammering on a bit of a run up here, upper semitone, upper semitone. So far. And then you're going to go back to the 4th fret of the A string, and then you're doing, as like the first riff, that little hammer on again. So your 4th fret, first finger, and then hammer on, 6th fret of the E string, pluck the A string again, hammer onto the 6th fret of the A string. So we'll go through that. For the second part, the beginning bit is exactly the same. And then instead of doing the, you're going onto the D string, 4th fret with your first finger. And then you've got to stretch, it's quite a big stretch, with your little finger onto the 8th fret of the D string. If that's quite a struggle, you don't have to play that first note on the A. You can just go straight to the 8th fret with your little finger. You're then going back to the 4th fret on the D string. So far you've got, and then you're going back to the A string, 5th fret. So I'll go through that again, second time. Alternative, if you don't want to play that first note. It just gives it a bit of extra effect, which sounds quite good. So all together with the section 1 and section 2, you've got. Which is the trumpet part. So for the chorus chords, you want your pickup as high as it will go to give you a clean sound. And your barring, you're playing a B flat major 7. So you'll want your middle finger on the G string of the 7th fret. And your ring finger on the 8th fret of the A string. You're not putting your little finger down there as you would for a major chord because you're making it into the 7th. And that is the 7th note of the B flat scale. So B flat major 7, and then there's a quick stop, and then you go down to it's a bit of a crazy chord. You're playing, basically it's quite complicated to get, so I'll go through it a few times. You've got your middle finger on the note A, so the 5th fret of the E string. You're then muting the A string, so you're literally just touching it slightly with your middle finger, so it doesn't really sound when you play it. You've got your ring finger, you miss the A string, which you're muting, and it's on the string below that, the D string, on the same fret as your middle finger on the 5th fret. Your little finger, just below that, on the G string, same fret, 5th fret, and then your first finger on the fret before that, on the 4th fret of the B string. You want to try and not do what I did and get the high E string, it doesn't quite fit in. So I'll go through that again. Middle finger, 5th fret of the low E string, muting the A string. Ring finger just below that on the D string. Little finger, again, just below that on the G string. And then your first finger on the 4th fret of the B string. It quite hard when you're first playing it, from changing from a bar chord to that chord, but with a bit of practice you'll get it. Yeah, so the chorus chords. Stop. The crazy chord. And then you're back into the verse. So the strumming pattern that I was playing earlier was a bit complicated. So we're going to do a nice, an easier one, which also fits in with the original song, and it sounds good to play along to. So I'll show you what it sounds like first. So I'll count out loud for you so you can kind of hear where it's going. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So on the 1 and 2 and 3. So on the 2, the and of the 2 you're strumming and the 1 you're strumming. That could be a bit confusing, so I'll play it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. When I'm muting it, I'm taking the pressure off the strings. I'm still plucking, strumming, but it doesn't sound because you're muting all the strings. So it goes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm strumming on the 1 and 2 and I'm muting on the 1 and 2 of the 2 and the 4. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's the strumming pattern for the verse. So yeah, it's an awesome song. If you have a trumpet player, get them around to play the, and it will sound good. Or alternatively, get more guitarists, play it all together. All sounds good. Yeah, have fun with it.